ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्ण पांडुरंग आनंद परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शंकर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारमीश्वरं व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहम्। So now, as I said in the last session, we have almost come to the last verse of this topic, which talks about, is there really any prarabdha for a jnani? And up till the 98th verse, we saw that Bhagwan Shankaracharya explains it in such a way that there is really speaking no prarabdha at all for the jnani, because the jnani is no longer a karta, nor is he a bhokta. He is not a karta or bhokta. He is not in any way involved with anything that the body mind sense complex is doing, and therefore he says that there is no question of any kind of a prarabdha which is meant for the body mind sense complex to be there in such a person. So he gave so many reasons. One thing is that I, the Atma, is Ajaha, Amaraha. I am not somebody who dies. I am a continuous and I am imperishable consciousness. The body is that which is mithya. Therefore, is really the body born? Really, if you speak, look at it, a jnani does not even consider that that body is his body. He doesn't even feel that. He doesn't consider that this body is my body. He does not consider that at all. And therefore, what is the thing here? He says, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says that, really speaking, there is no prarabdha for the jnani at all. Then what about people like us? Do we have prarabdha or no? That is a question which we always talk about. Okay, jnani doesn't have prarabdha. All right. What about me? If I don't have, if the prarabdha is not there for a jnani, what about me? What has happened to me then? I am an ajnani. If I am an ajnani, do I have the prarabdha or no? Actually speaking, our scriptures say, Vedanta says that even you don't have prarabdha. But right now, because you are identifying yourself with your body, identifying yourself with the body mind sense complex, and therefore what is happening, you feel that whatever is happening to the body is really happening to you. And therefore, according to our Shastras, none of us really have any prarabdha. Prarabdha is also mithya. If I understand that the body is mithya, the mind is mithya, then the afflictions of the body are mithya, the suffering of the body is mithya, then where is the question of any kind of prarabdha really to the body? So what is said is, as long as I'm an ajnani, as long as I feel I am the body mind sense complex, As long as I feel that I am the karta, I am the bhokta, as long as I consider myself to be a separate jiva compared to all the others, I am a jiva separate from you. I am an individual separate from you. As long as I think of myself as a separate jiva, there will always be a sense of prarabdha for me. Therefore, that I have a prarabdha, I have the sanchita karmas, I have the agami karmas, even this particular thought is because of my strong identification with the body mind sense complex. And if I have very clearly understood that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind and sense complexes, then whatever the body is going through, it is purely Ishvara's sankalpa, because of which this body is interacting with the Jagat, other body, mind, sense complexes, and a particular Vyavahara is going on, and therefore there is no question of really speaking, there is no prarabdha. But then I'm suffering now, isn't it? My body is suffering. Now, what do I say when the body is afflicted? I say I'm suffering. When the body is in pain, what do I say? I'm in pain. And when people around me don't behave the way I want, I say that I'm unhappy. So and so is making me unhappy. I'm unhappy because of my children. I'm unhappy because of my spouse. I'm unhappy because of people around me. So, what is the meaning of this? I'm giving satyatvam to people around me. I say that they are the truth. I say my children are my children. I attach myself to my children, to my spouse, to my people, my family. And what do I say? I literally extend myself to the people around me. I extend myself to the things around me. And what do I say? This is my family. These are my children. So when something happens to my children, I suffer. I must have done something in the past because I am suffering from them. Oh, prarabdha karma, purva janma kritam papam vyadi rupena jayate. Purva janma kritam papam putra rupena jayate. Like that, we have so many sentences that are talked about, so many things that are talked about. And this explanation of prarabdha for an ajnani is to make an ajnani quiet for some time. Otherwise, I'll always feel, why am I suffering? Why is there so much suffering in me? What is this problem? Why is the body suffering so much? I was so healthy, suddenly what happened to me? I have been a fitness freak. I have done everything the right way. I have been a teetotaler. I have not indulged myself in anything. My lifestyle has been good. Everything has been good. Why am I suffering? Why did I get this? Why did I get that? Why are people around me, making me unhappy? I'm so unhappy because of my family members. I'm so unhappy because of my neighbors. Now, when I say that I am the body, I extend myself to the people around me and say, these are my people. See, the problem with all of us is aham mama. Aham and mama, aham and mama. This is my problem. And for us who are so strongly steeped in this aham and mama, ahankara and mamakara, I am the body, I am the mind. These are my people, these are my things, these are my situations. For me to be happy, my body should be all right. People around me should behave in the best way possible that I am happy. My children should be like this, then I will be happy. My surroundings should be like this. I have a set of rules, and then I feel that life does not fit into those rules, and then I say, I am unhappy, I am struggling, I am suffering. And then I ask the gurus, I ask our shastras, why is it that I'm suffering? What is this bondage? Why am I in this bondage? So, what is the Shastra going to answer me? How is it going to tell me that, look, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the sense complexes? I will not understand. Right now, I'm not even interested in Shastra. Right now, I don't even know that there is something other than this body. Right now, I'm so totally engrossed and entangled with the body, mind, sense complex and the world. And when I ask this question, why am I suffering? Why am I in this bondage? What answer can the Guru give me? Will the Guru tell me or the Shastra tell me that you don't have suffering at all? Really speaking, yes. I don't have any suffering. None of us have any suffering at all. Suffering is what is projected by myself based on a body mind sense complex and my surroundings, which are neither me nor myself. See, this is the paradox of our unhappiness and our samsara. Really speaking, I don't have samsara, but what do I say? I am an samsari. I am a samsari. Who is the samsari here? Atma cannot be the samsari. Atma is ever liberated. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Atma Ahamasmi. Who's the samsari? I think I'm the samsari because whatever suffering is or whatever afflictions are there for body, mind, sense complexes which are not me, I feel that I'm suffering. People who are supposed to be born through me, my children, I feel because of them I'm suffering. They are neither me nor they are mine. This whole universe, I am the very adhishtanam of everything. I am neither of these things. But how will the Shastra tell me initially? So it has to give me some kind of a appeasement. It has to tell me, look, you have done something in the past. It's your prarabdha karma. It's all your sanchita karmas. All these, this karma theory is meant for an ajnani. It is not for a jnani. So that is why that I have traveled, I have accumulated so much of sanchita. I have come now in this body with a certain amount of that sanchita karma which has come as prarabdha karma, and I have to suffer this prarabdha, and I am doing these karmas here now, and I am going to have, whatever it is, I'm going to have, the effects or the phalas of whatever I am going to do now. This I, ahankara, entanglement with the body and the whole world, I feel I am the sufferer. This is the problem with us. So actually the samsara is nothing but which is superimposed upon ourselves. Really speaking, there is no samsara. The world cannot cause samsara to me. People cannot cause samsara to me. This body mind sense complex cannot cause samsara to me because I'm neither of them. I don't own any of them. I'm the ever free Nitya Shuddha Atma. I am the very consciousness principle which is not affected by any of these things. Therefore, what Bhagavan Shankaracharya says is, really speaking, there is no prarabdha for anybody. But unfortunately, at least let us start understanding from now that the jnani who has understood the reality of himself, really speaking, has no prarabdha. Because the prarabdha does not belong to him at all. This is what the jnani has clearly seen. Now, in the 99th verse, he says that supposing you take it for granted that prarabdha persists even after Atmajnana. Prarabdha persists even after you have understood Aham Brahmasmi. Then what is the dosha here? Is it possible? He tells that in the 99th verse, which we just introduced. We just, read through it last time. Let me read this now. उच्यतेरग्नैर्बलाच्चैतद् आनर्थद्वयागमः वेदान्तमतहानञ्च यतो ज्ञानमिति श्रुतिः. So here Bhagavan says, if prarabdha persists after jnanam also for a jnani, Then what is the difference between him and an Ajnani? So, what do the scriptures say? With moksha, भिद्यते हृदयग्रन्थि छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते chasya karmani. We saw that in the previous verse. That means with the knowledge, all the prarabdha or the suffering goes. I am no longer a samsari which I thought of myself to be. There is no longer any bondage which I thought I had. Okay, therefore, supposing a jnani persists to have prarabdha, then what is the purpose of moksha? Moksha is what? Total freedom from any of these things. And if prarabdha persists, even after moksha, then where is the question of moksha? It becomes anirmoksha prasanga. At the same time, it will be against the Shruti because Shruti says the only way you can get out of the bondage that you are perceiving now is only through that knowledge. Does this knowledge insulate me from this? Because I clearly understand after this knowledge that even the so called prarabdha is mithya. The so called bondage that I felt all these years is mithya. I clearly understand it. Moksha is that clear understanding that I am not bound. My feeling of bondage was only a wrong idea. It was a mistaken notion. There is no question of any bondage at all. So, if after moksha also, if I'm experiencing this bondage of prarabdha and suffering, what is the purpose of moksha? That means anirmoksha prasanga. So, moksha is not really destroying any of my samsara. Then why should I have moksha? If moksha is something which I'm looking for by this Atmajnanam, that which destroys my samsara for me by understanding, and if this knowledge does not even destroy that, then what is the point in moksha? I might as well be like this. So, anirmoksha prasanga. Then, whatever the Shruti has told about moksha and its phala, that also is proved to be wrong. Correct? Second thing, when I say prarabdha or when I say suffering, I have said it is because of my identification with the body mind sense complex, which is because of what? Ignorance or avidya. And what does this knowledge do? It destroys the ignorance about myself and all its consequences. Avidya, with all its consequences, is destroyed by this knowledge. Correct? But if prarabdha persists, that means this knowledge has not destroyed the prarabdha. Then where is prarabdha coming from? Prarabdha is a side effect or it is one of the consequences of avidya. It is a consequence of ignorance. And if ignorance is removed by this knowledge, and if you say prarabdha still persists for this jnani, then where is the question of ignorance being destroyed? Then prarabdha becomes an entity which is indestructible even by moksha. Then what happens? Then where is the question of moksha? If you don't understand this verse, don't worry about it. Only understand one thing, that there is no prarabdha for a jnani. And our scriptures are very clearly talking about it, that there is no prarabdha for this jnani at all. And as long as I consider myself to be an ajnani, as long as I am afflicted by the effects of ajnana, ajnana of what? My reality, the reality of the world. As long as I don't understand the reality of myself and reality of ajnana, prarabdha is very much there. But for a jnani who has understood that he or she is not the body mind sense complex, that he or she, nothing belongs to him or her, none of this world, none of the people around, nothing belongs to that person. he or she incidentally happens to be among those people. That's it. Nothing belongs to him. He is not responsible. He may play a role to see that somebody is taken care of, but then he knows beyond that there is absolutely no responsibility of his. Every jiva, every relative has come with his or her own blueprint, and then it is just incidentally that they are there around me. That's it. And as long as I consider myself to be the body, the mind, the sense complex, I have to work out that prarabdha with all those people. But once I very clearly understand that I'm not any of them, there's no question of anybody else troubling me or my getting afflicted by somebody else, be they my own children or husband or wife or anybody. Therefore, what he says here is that if I say, like prarabdha is there even for a jnani till his body falls, it is not really right. But then why is the Shruti saying this? It is only initially, as an initial for a beginner, because a beginner is an ajnani, the Shruti starts with the prarabdha, and then later on, when I understand that prarabdha is also an effect of ajnana and knocked off with this knowledge, then I clearly understand that jnani does not have a prarabdha. I will continue to have sanchita karmas, agami karmas, prarabdha karmas as long as I'm ignorant. As long as I think I am the body mind sense complex, I have this body mind sense complex, these are my people, these are my relatives, these are not my people, this is my house, this is my object. As long as I have the ahankara and mamakara, I cannot escape from prarabdha. I cannot escape from traveling from one place to the other. I cannot escape from the afflictions of the body mind sense complex. So, with this, the topic of prarabdha is over. Now, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is coming to Jnana Yoga sadhanas. Among them, he is going to take up Nididhyasana as an important sadhana. As we know, what is Jnana Yoga? Listening to the words of the Shruti Guru Mukhena. That is what is called as the Shravanam. Shravanam is the first sadhana. Shravanam is the most important sadhana. Why? Because it is through Shravanam only that this knowledge comes to me. It is only through Shravanam that this knowledge is, taken by me through the ears by listening. That time there was no Pathanam. See, now also Pathanam is not really, it's okay once you have heard and once you are very sure of, what you have heard and you know something. But merely straight away in the beginning, starting to just read these translations and other things, that's not really advised. Shravanam is the advised sadhana, jnana sadhana. Shravanam is a direct exposure to this Shruti, which is conveyed by a guru who is trained in the art of communicating this knowledge. This guru has learned this art of communicating about this knowledge, about who I am, what I am, in a systematic way, in a proper way, through a sampradaya. A sampradaya with guru is the one who knows how to deliver this knowledge, how to communicate this knowledge to the mumukshu so that the mumukshu does not have any doubts or he does not have any misunderstanding. So, Shravanam is the most important sadhana of the three of the Jnana Yoga. Then comes, so what is Shravanam? Exposing oneself to the Shastra through the words of the Guru for a sufficient amount of time with consistency. It should not be that this week I listen and again after 2 weeks or 3 weeks I listen. That's not going to work. If I'm committed to this knowledge, if I'm committed to moksha, then there is only one thing, that I have to expose this intellect to Shravanam of the Shastra. Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam. For a consistent period of time, not just 1 year or 2 years, no, years together, maybe lives together. We can't have instant moksha, it is not possible. We can't have anything instant here that I have to understand what is said in the Vedas by Shravanam in 1 year or 2 years. No, it's not. It all depends upon how prepared I am. What is my jnana yogyata? If there is sufficient jnana yogyata, if I have done enough of sadhana in my previous life, maybe it may be earlier. But otherwise, it's not something that happens instantaneously or instantly. No, a committed, serious listening to the Shastra for a sufficient period of time, exposing myself to a sampradaya with Guru's words, that is Shravanam. And by Shravanam, what happens? The knowledge of the Shruti is taken in. And all that knowledge that is taken in is not immediately understood. There are many doubts in this knowledge. So, what should I do? I should make this knowledge doubt free, for which I have to listen again and again and again. I have to talk to the Guru and ask relevant questions again and again. Go through various references that the Guru has given. Study the various texts which are talking about the same thing. By repeated study, repeated listening, what do? I remove, try to dilute the doubts in me. Whatever is heard through Shravanam, I make that knowledge doubt free, samshaya rahita jnanam. And that also takes time. It's not as if immediately we are going to understand what is told. The last thing is a knowledge that has been made doubtless has to be assimilated. That assimilation of this knowledge is called nididhyasana. What is the meaning of assimilation? It should be available to me spontaneously. That is what is called as assimilation. And knowledge that is God has to be assimilated in me so that this knowledge becomes spontaneous. Whenever I need it, whenever in every transaction, at the back of my mind, it should be there that I am not this body. Prishan, Sprishan, Shrinvan, all that Pashyan, Shrinvan, Jigran, all that Aham na kinchit karomi. Yes, this transaction I'm doing, yes, I'm speaking to you. You are listening to me. This is happening. But am I really doing the speaking? No. Gunaha guneshu vartante. I am the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma in whose presence the intellect and the Vag Indriya are working the way they are programmed, and then this speaking is happening. Same thing is happening to you when you are listening. Therefore, I have to have this bhavana all the time. At the back of every transaction, I should have this clear understanding that this act of so and so, this is happening in my presence, in my what you call as the in my witnessing. As a witness, I am the witnessing consciousness in whose presence the body mind sense complex is doing a certain activity for which it is meant. That's it. So this constant remembering, we also call it constant remembrance. This constant remembrance that I am the body mind sense complex, I am merely sakshi to every action that is happening. And every action that is happening at the level of the body mind sense complex, Anatma. I have nothing to do with it. I'm a mere sakshi. What is it that is making this body mind sense complex function in its way? It's Ishvara Sankalpa, blessed by I, me. I means this blessing consciousness in whose presence this activity is happening. This constant remembrance about my reality, and the mithyatvam of the jagat and every transaction that is happening. This is what is called as actual abiding in this knowledge. And this process of assimilation is called as nididhyasanam. So here, what Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to do is, he is borrowing from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the what you call as the 8 angas of Ashtanga Yoga, add 7 of his own, and then give a 15 limbed approach to Nididhyasanam. We saw in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita fully Bhagwan Shri Krishna talking about Nididhyasanam. In all the previous sessions that we have taken, we have talked about Nididhyasanam. But in Aparokshanubhuti, Bhagwan Shankaracharya talks about the Nididhyasana sadhana or the Nididhyasanam using 15 limbs of Nididhyasana. The meaning that is given by Bhagwan Shankaracharya to the names of these 15 limbs are different from what is talked about in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. In the Ashtanga Yoga, the names are the same: Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyanam, Samadhi. These are the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Here also, the same names are used, but the meaning given by Acharya Shankara is different. So, and plus, he adds 7 more, and he calls this 15 as the Tripancha Angani. That is 15 angas. Tripancha means 3 into 5. 15 limbs, Angani, of Nididhyasana. So, what are how to do? Like Bhagwan Krishna has explained in the 6th chapter very beautifully, extensively about Nididhyasana. This is how it is going to be described here. But Shankaracharya Bhagwan takes his own way of describing, and also it is the same thing that is told, but the way of expressing is a little different. So we'll go to the 100th verse. We have almost coming to the almost to the last few portions. We have another 44 verses left. That's all. So we have now the 100th verse. What does Bhagwan Shankaracharya say? Tripanchanganyato vakshye पूर्वोक्तस्यैव सिद्धये तैश्च सर्वैः सदा कार्यं nididhyasanamev tu. So what he says here is, to get the phalam of what has been talked about all this while. What is it that we are supposed to understand? By all this time, whatever Bhagwan has talked about, the very crux of Vedantic teaching. What is it? Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Brahma Satyam, Aham Satyam, we already saw that, where we saw that in the first about 50 to 60 verses. Then Jagan Mithyatvam was talked about in the next verses, few verses. Then at the end of it, till the 99th verse, even the Mithyatvam of Prarabdha was talked about. So, if I understand this, Aham Atma Eva Satyam, Jagat along with all the 3 karmas is Mithya. And when I have understood this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, and when I see myself Aham Brahmasmi Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha, there's no question of any karma phala troubling me. I'm insulated from all karma phalas, including prarabdha karma phala. So, for this assimilation of this knowledge which has been talked about, what do I need to do? I need to do the Nididhyasanam, which is an important aspect of Jnana Yoga. But remember one thing, Nididhyasana cannot be done without Shravanam and Mananam. Simply sitting and meditation, you can do Saguna Ishvara meditation. Ishta Devata Japa you can do. Ishtadevata upasana you can do. Vedantic nididhyasanam involves sufficient amount of Shravanam and Mananam. Without Shravanam and Mananam, nididhyasanam cannot be done. So here Bhagwan Shankaracharya is talking about nididhyasanam for a person who has done enough of Vedanta Shravanam and Mananam. This Nididhyasanam, Vedanta Nididhyasanam is also called as Vedantic meditation. And in this Nididhyasana, what do we do? If I see myself as an incomplete person, a wanting person, a person who's absolutely, not anything at all. I have that feeling about myself. What does Vedanta say? I've heard enough. And Vedanta says you are Purnaha. But I'm feeling very Apurnaha. So what do I do in this Vedantic meditation? I constantly bring this teaching, Aham Purna Atma Asmi Ite, I bring it to my notice and I dwell over this fact again and again that I'm feeling Apurna because of my feeling that I'm the body mind sense complex. I am the Purnatva Swarupa Atma. So, this bringing in of the Vedantic teaching, relevant to my deficiency that I am feeling, over and over and over again, is called as Vedantic meditation, also called as Nididhyasanam. I can take one Vedantic statement every day. Aham Nitya Atma Asmi. If I have severe fear of death, fear of death, then I can take up this Aham Nitya Atma Asmi. Anitya is the body. Aham Nitya Atma Asmi. I can take that Vedantic truth for my Nididhyasanam. A particular day, I am very, very concerned about people around me. I know that they don't belong to me, but then I am concerned about them. I can take up Asanga Atma Ahamasmi, Asangoham, Aham Asangaha, Nirlipta Atma Ahamasmi iti. I can bring that as a Vedantic meditation, that particular statement. Okay? Then there may be instances or situations where I feel I have done something and done something wrong, and because of that, something happened. A question of or a feeling of severe guilt I may feel. At that time, I can bring this Aham Akarta Atma Asmi. Whatever happened, I am not the doer. Because of Ishvara Sankalpa, the body mind sense complex at that moment acted in a certain way. That's it, but I am not the Karta. So, like that, whenever I feel any deficiencies about myself, if I have heard enough of Vedanta, if I have done enough of Mananam, then each and every Vedantic statement can be taken up for dwelling upon, which is called as Nididhyasana or Vedantic meditation, where I try to assimilate whatever I have learned or studied through the Guru. So here he says that, for that he says, Tripanchangani atho vakshe. Tripanchangan yatho vakshe means Panchangani atho vakshe. Now onwards, I'm going to talk about 15 limbs or 15 aspects of Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasana. Purvoktasyaiva siddhaye. To assimilate whatever has been talked about earlier. Purva uktasya siddhaye. So that whatever has been talked about, whatever I have studied in these 100 verses, to assimilate that fact, 15 angas I will give you for this process of assimilation called as Nididhyasana. Taischa sarvaihi sada karyam. Taischa, by that, Sarvaihi, along with these, when I do this Vedantic truth being properly chewed up or assimilated, or I dwell upon it continuously, that is called as nididhyasanam. Tascha sarve sadha karyam. May you use this 15 limbs that I have talked about for assimilating whatever has been talked in all these 100 verses. Now, 101st verse. नित्याभ्यासादृते प्राप्तिः न भवेत् सच्चिदात्मनः तस्माद् ब्रह्मणि दिध्यासेत् जिज्ञासु श्रेयसे चिरम्. So, नित्य अभ्यासादृतेः प्राप्तिर्न. What praptirna? Aham Brahmasmi iti assimilation of that knowledge is not possible without daily nitya abhyasa. Nididhyasana should become not only daily, it should be done all the time in the waking hours. Awareful living awarefully according to the facts of Vedanta, according to the truths of Vedanta that I've heard. That is what is called as the Vedantic meditation or Nididhyasanam. Who says, Nitya Abhyasa Drite Na Prapti. Without the regular habit of this need, this 15 angas, without practicing this daily, न भवेत् सच्चिदात्मनः प्राप्तिः. Satchidatmanaha praptihi means abiding in the Atma Swarupa will not happen. Praptihi means getting, but there is no getting here. I am the Atma. Atma is myself. What is there to get? What is there to reach? Moksha is not something that should be got. Moksha is not something where one should reach. Moksha is knowing myself exactly the way I am, what I am, and abiding in that knowledge. Abiding in my Swarupam, this is called as actually Atma Jnanam or Atma Prapti or Brahma Prapti or Jnana Prapti. It is nothing but this. So he says, Nitya Abhyasa Drite Na Praptir Bhavet Satchidatmanaha. Satchidatmanaha Praptihi Na Bhavet Rite Nitya Abhyasad Rite. Without this daily practice of Nididhyasana, there is no question of assimilating this knowledge or abiding in this knowledge. Tasmad Brahma Nididhyase. May you constantly dwell upon this Brahman as yourself. Who has to do that? Nididhyase jignasuhu. A jignasu or a mumukshu. Here it means a mumukshu also, a jignasu. A person who wants to abide in his Atmaswarupa. See, I know I am Brahman. I have understood what all up till 100 verses Bhagavan Shankaracharya has told. But I don't have the nishtha in that. I don't have the abidance in that. And the only way I can develop nishtha or abidance in it is none other than by this practice of Nididhyasana. And this practice of Nididhyasanam initially may be a sitting Nididhyasanam done for a few minutes or a few hours in a day, as talked about in the 6th chapter by Bhagavan Krishna. But Nididhyasanam is something which should become every minute. It should be there all the time in my waking hours. Nididhyasanam should happen. In what way it should happen? At every step, in every transaction, I should see myself as the Karya Karana Sanghata Virakta Svirakta. Karya Karana Sanghata Viraktaha Aham Atma Asmi Iti. I have to constantly be aware of that and just be a sakshi to all the activities that are happening through this body mind sense complex. And that can happen with only this Nididhyasanam. Initially, it may be broken. It may be happening for a few minutes, but then a time should come when I'm constantly abiding in the Atmaswarupa. This Nididhyasanam is what he's talking about. A jignasuhu shreyase. For attaining this shreyas or moksha is what? Constant abiding in my Atmaswarupam. That can happen only after enough of Shravanam, Mananam, and through a process of Nididhyasanam, which is nothing but assimilating this knowledge. Then he enumerates the 15 limbs of the Nididhyasanam. And as I said, Bhagwan Shankaracharya has borrowed the same names from Ashtanga Yoga. But in Ashtanga Yoga, these words mean a little different. Whereas here, Bhagwan Shankaracharya uses the same words. But the meaning given by Shankaracharya is relevant to the Vedantic teaching. Relevant to Vedantic teaching. There it is relevant to the yoga, Ashtanga yoga teaching. Here the names are the same, but they are used and explained with a relevance to the main teaching of the central teaching of Vedanta. So now he enumerates the 15 limbs. What are they? Yamo hi niyamosthyagaha maunam deshascha kalata आसनं मूलबन्धश्च देहसाम्यं च दृक्स्थितिः. We'll read the next verse also. प्राणसंयमनं चैव प्रत्याहारश्च धारणा ध्यानं समाधिश्च प्रोक्तान्यङ्गानि वै क्रमात्. In an order, kramat, proktani. I am going to talk about here. I have in these two words, I have talked about the 15 angas in a particular order. Okay, kramat, proktani, angani vai means in a proper order, starting from number 1. I have talked about the 15 angas of Nididhyasana in a particular order. So first I'll just name them and then we'll see. Yama, first one, Yama. What is the meaning of Yama? Yama means management or restraint or withdrawal. Okay, and I'll explain to you as he takes each and every word is explained here. Yama. Then Niyama, a kind of a discipline, Niyama. Yama means what is not to be done, what is to be avoided, avoidance or restraint from what is to be avoided. That is called as Yama. Niyama means what is to be done to make this Nididhyasanam or this abiding in the Atma Swarupa easy. What is it that I have to do? That is called as Niyama. Yama means that which I should not do, which I should avoid, which I should withdraw from. Niyama means what should I positively do so that my Nididhyasanam is successful. Third one is Tyagaha. Tyagaha means what? An internal or a mental renunciation or vairagya. Let's explain that later when it comes. So, Tyagaha, Maunam, silence. What kind of a silence is it? Is it a physical silence? Is it a verbal silence? Is it a mental silence? All that is going to be described every verse. Now, for the next 18 or 20 verses, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is going to repeat or he is going to talk about all these 15 angas one by one. So, first one is Yama. Avoid that which is not to be done, not conducive for Nididhyasana. Niyama. Positively engage in things which are conducive for Nididhyasana. Tyaga. A mental renunciation from the world of objects so that my mind is available for Nididhyasana. Maunam. Silence of the mind, the vak, so that I am able to concentrate on the Nididhyasana. Desha, Kala, time and place. Let us see all that later. Then Asanam. Asanam. What kind of a asana I should use for sitting nididhyasanam? When we say ultimately this nididhyasanam should become every minute, then there's no question of asanam there. I start sitting in one place, like the sixth chapter, what was talked about. I start sitting in one place, making my mind get used to the process of nididhyasanam. But over a period of time, I should learn to have this nididhyasanam every minute of my waking time. So now he is talking to the beginner, the person who wants to abide in this knowledge and assimilate this knowledge. So, Desha, Kala, Asanam. Then there is something called as a Mula Bandha. Certain mechanisms which are used to improve this kind of a concentration on whatever I am going to mull on, or whatever I am going to really ruminate upon, whatever I am going to meditate upon. It's called as the Mula Bandha. That also he'll explain. In yoga, Mula Bandha means something different. I'm sure many of you must be doing Ashtanga yoga. You must be doing this joint classes and doing. So you all must have been taught about this. But this Mula Bandha is a certain kind of a you know uh, doing certain thing with certain parts of your body so that you are able to get a proper concentration on whatever you're doing, especially when you're breathing and other things. But here he's going to talk about it in a little different way, but the words and the terminology is the same that is used in Ashtanga yoga. Mula Bandha. Deha Samyam. Deha Samyam means what? How do you keep the body? How do you position the body? Do you sit straight? How Samakaya Shiro Grivaha, Bhagwan Krishna said in the sixth chapter. So everything should be in one line. So, how do you keep the body? Sitting posture is one thing, but in what posture you sit and how do you keep your body? The straightness of the body, the erectness of the body is what is called as Deha Samyam. Drik Sthitihi. Where do you look? What do you do with your eyes? Do you close them? Do you open them? Do you go on seeing here and there? Do you concentrate upon one particular thing? So, what do you do with your eyes? Where do you fix them? Fixing of the eyes, drikstitihi. Prana sanyamanam, regulating the prana, which we call as pranayama. Prana sanyamanam is what is called as here pranayama, or regulating the breath in such a way that the mind quietens down. Here also, he's going to talk about it. Every limb is going to be explained in detail from the Vedantic context. Chaiva pratyaharaha. Pratyahara means what? Withdrawal of the senses from their respective objects. Pratyahara, withdrawal. Because the sense organs have a tendency to move out. So, how am I going to see that the sense organs are not, tempted to move out? Pratyahara, that is what is called the withdrawal. Dharana, next one is the dharana. Dharana means what? Focusing the mind on that particular aspect of what I am going to meditate upon today, fixing my mind upon what is that particular Vedantic truth that I am going to literally contemplate upon today. That is what is called as the dharana. Then he says here, Atma Dhyanam. There it was Patanjali Dhyanam. Here it is said Atma Dhyanam, Atma Dhyanam. The Jnanam is already there, Shramana Jnanam. Now I focus upon that what I have heard from the Guru. That is called as Atma Dhyanam. Focusing upon the nature of myself. Atma Dhyanam. Then he says Samadhi. Samadhi means what? Where I abide in that truth of Atma. The poise of the mind, where the mind is constantly abiding in that Atma. We have seen that Taila Dharavat. It's like as if the mind is completely absorbed in the Vedantic truth that I am going to take up today for ruminating over or contemplating over. This is what is called as the samadhi. And these are what? Proktani angani kramat. Kramat proktani. These 15 angas have been in this particular order, they have talked about it. Now, it is not necessary for us to know what that each one means in Ashtanga Yoga and what is meant here. It will cause us more confusion. So, though the teachers, though acharyas tell Yama, okay, in Yama, from the point of view of Ashtanga Yoga, what is the meaning of Yama? But here, from the Vedanta aspect of it, how Yama is described, it's not necessary for us to know that right now. We will just go directly to what Bhagwan Shankaracharya is explaining here by that particular word. Each word is one anga. And as we said, there are some things which have not been, which are not there. Yama is there, niyama is there, pranayam, asana is there, pranayama is there, pratyahara is there, then dharana, dhyanam, samadhi. These 8 are definitely the names of Ashta Anga. Here, 3 Pancha Angas. So 7 are added here. What are those 7 that are added? Tyaga, then Mauna, Desha, Kala, and then he's talked about Mula Bandha. Then he has talked about Atma Dhyana. Okay, so there are some things which are added here, Desha, Kala, then on Mula Bandha. All this, some which Bhagwan Shankaracharya feels may make it easier for us. So he has added 7 angas, and these 15 angas, these are the names given to them. And we'll start with the each one of them for the next, I think, 18 or 19 verses are going to talk about each, means together, about each of the angas that are going to be talked about in one verse or 1 or 2 verses. I think we'll take that up from next session, because if I start it, then we don't have enough time to complete one verse. Om Nandantu Sadhaka Sarve Vinashyantu Vidushakaha Avastha Shambhavi Mestu Prasannostu Guru Sada Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkham Apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat.